Hi guys, today we're going to try to fix a non-working arcade PCB. This is a Double Dragon Jammer board, classic arcade game made by Technos Japan in 1987. And the purpose of this video is to do a step-by-step troubleshooting of the board. I have not taken a look at this particular non-working board. I got this off of eBay. Obviously it just arrived in the mail. As I haven't seen the board yet, I don't know what's wrong with it, and I have no idea if it's fixable at all, but we'll just go through this together step by step and try to get it back to life. Well, I got the board as I said, as non-working, and the seller described it as non-working because it doesn't go past garbled graphics screen, looks intact, didn't do any troubleshooting. So, well, let's open up the package and take a look at the board. Okay, I just got it out of the box. It actually looks pretty clean to me. Like the seller said, there's just, I think, like there's some minor dirt or maybe a bit of corrosion going on over here. Otherwise, I didn't see any physical problems, at least on this side of the board. It's a double-sided board. I just flip it around and take a look over here. Well, looks decent. I guess no obvious missing parts or anything. Okay, so the first step would be, I guess, to hook it up and take a look what it does. Okay, so I've hooked up the board to my test setup here. And okay, let's see what it does. I'll just turn the power on. And what do we have? Yeah, as expected, or as described in the auction, we have garbage on the screen, which sort of looks like a checkerboard actually. There's some valid characters in there, but the game is obviously not running. Okay, let's just turn it off and back on again. Okay, pretty much the same. This seems to be a CPU issue, I guess, because the game is obviously not running, which is the job of the main CPU. It should fill the video RAM with valid information to display, like the game's title screen or whatever, which it doesn't do. So something has to be actually wrong with the main CPU, which is this one over here on the Double Dragon board. And one of the possible reasons for the main CPU to fail is that it doesn't really get good access to the program ROMs, and for the Double Dragon board, the program code is stored in those 4 ROMs over here. I will actually start by reseating those ROMs and see if this changes anything. Sometimes if those chips are stuck in their sockets over years and there's a bit of corrosion, they might lose contact on some of the pins, which could actually lead to this kind of a fault. So we'll just reseat those and check back if the game maybe starts running again. Okay, I pried out the chips with a screwdriver and put them back in. So let's see. Okay, so that didn't fix the issue. So, well, I guess next thing to do would be to check out what the CPU is actually doing using a logic probe. We can take a look if there's any activity on the address bus, on the data bus, if there's a clock signal at all, if there maybe is a problem with the watchdog circuitry, or if there's any issues with the interrupt lines. Well, yeah, let's check that out. Okay, I've got my logic probe hooked up, and yeah, the CPU we're looking at is a variant of the 6809 CPU made by Motorola. It's a yeah, slightly different version made in Japan by Hitachi, but it's pin compatible, so we can use this pinout over here and check the different lines. Okay, what I just noticed is that well, yeah, the CPU isn't running at all. These are some address lines, they're all pulled high all the time, and there's some data lines, all bits high. So the CPU is just sitting there and doing nothing at all. And if we look at the clock input, which should be pin 39, this is a 40 pin chip, so 39 is over here, the clock seems to be low all the time, so there's no clock signal, obviously. That might already be the problem. We'll have a look at the schematics and see and take a look where this signal is supposed to come from. Okay, so now here this is part of the Double Dragon schematics. I downloaded those from the internet, and what I just noticed is that the clock signal, which in the schematics comes in from down here, is fed into two pins which are called E and Q, and as we see here, these are on pins 34 and 35. I think I didn't get any oscillating signal on those two pins too, but we'll have to check again how the signal looks like. Okay, so the Q is pin 35, 40, 39, 38, 37, 33. This is 35. This is Q. This is high all the time. This doesn't look right. And then the other one is E, which is oscillating. So we might have a problem with this input being stuck high. Now let's get back to the schematics again and look where the signal comes from. Okay, so the input Q seems to have a problem, and it actually is generated in IC58 and should be coming out at pin 8. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so 58 is the chip next to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. High all the time as well. Okay, so we'll have a look at the input signals of this chip over here. Okay, this is actually a register, and the inputs are pins 11 and 12. It's H clock and MIH negative signal. Okay, let's look at those two. Okay, so 8 oscillating. 12 is not. Okay, this is low all the time. So let's get back to the schematics. So that was 12 was negative MIH. Okay, let's see where this signal comes from. It says page 9 on the schematics. Let's take a look there. Okay, here we go. So that's page 9, and yeah, where does it go? Okay. Okay, so IC5 is over here. So pin 3 should be the input. Okay, so this signal is actually, this input is actually floating, I think. Let me scratch this, yeah. No, the signal is floating and the output is low all the time, so there seems to be nothing connected to pin 3, so it actually, I don't know, it actually might have to do something with a line, a signal line not conducting somewhere, and in the end it might even have something to do with the corrosion we saw when we took the first glance at the board. Very interesting. Okay, I'm gonna try to figure out if the signal actually is reaching the top PCB or if it's lost somewhere on the lower part, and we'll try to fix the missing signals. Okay, so what I did now was I removed the 4 screws that hold the 2 boards together, and I put them on the side so we can access the lines on the ribbon connector sockets, and we'll have to look at line number 47, which should bring the signal from the lower PCB back to the upper PCB. And this signal, this over here is hard to see, a bit hard to see. This here should be line number 50. This is 49, 48, and this is 47. So this is oscillating. So the signal gets lost somewhere on the CPU PCB. So I'll just, I think I'll just turn the game off and put the CPU PCB on the bench and just inspect the traces and see where the signal is lost. Actually, I just noticed that there's some more dirt and maybe corrosion going on the bottom side of this board, like some stuff actually dropped in there. Okay, I have to clean that up. Okay, I got the board on the bench and I got my multimeter. I set it on continuity test, and I tested this line here, which comes from the ribbon connector, goes like up here to this point, and so far there's continuity between this point over here and that point over here. Continuity is okay. So I have to check this via now, because in this point the signal line is going to the other side of the PCB, and check if this via is actually okay. Okay, so now interestingly, this wire goes through this point on the upper side of the PCB, and this is actually a pretty corroded place over here. I'll try to inspect this under the microscope and take a closer look. Okay, here's what it actually looks like under the microscope. So you can see that there's this wire is obviously heavily corroded, and also the signal lines going up and down from it seem to be fairly oxidized. Yeah. Okay, so as a first step, I'm going to try to clean this up with alcohol, and then let's take another look at it again. Okay, I try to clean it up with alcohol a bit, but unfortunately under the microscope it doesn't look much better. There might even be a cut in this line, so a section where the line is completely not only oxidized but completely gone. I think I'll just take my soldering iron and try to reheat those wires and see how they look and if I get any signals through them at all. I reheated this wire and cleaned it, so now at least I got the signal from the bottom side of the PCB to the upper side of the PCB. But well, yeah, those signal lines aren't really conducting. I make a continuity check now between this wire and I'm sorry for that, this wire up here, to see if there's any connection going on between here and there. Okay, so I did a continuity test, and as expected, there's no continuity between this wire and this one up here, because this line is damaged and maybe hard to see, but maybe it's right here. There's a spot where the line is completely missing. And again, looking through the microscope, it seems to be right here. There's a tiny spot. I don't know if it's good to see, but right here is a tiny spot where the trace is actually missing. Okay, what I did now was I removed the green protective layer from the trace in circuit trace in question, and as you can see right here, there's the gap. There's continuity on this, from this wire to this part of the trace, but there's a lack of continuity between this spot up here and this one down here. So I'll have to bridge that little point here. Okay, now as you can see, I tinned the remaining trace, and next to it I put a small piece of wire which is maybe quite the same thickness as the trace. So, and I'm now soldering it onto the trace to restore the missing middle part. Okay, so here's the result, how it looks, and I guess I'll test for continuity and then hook it up for a test. So okay, I hooked it up again, so let's see what happens now. Oh. Okay. Nice. I think we got quite a bit further. Game is actually running. I don't see any characters though, and part of the title screen was missing, but the background seems to be okay. Okay, just for another test, I connected my test bench controller, and as we see, the sound also seems to be working fine. Yeah. Okay, the game's playing music and sound effects seem to be alright, so I think the missing graphics here must have also to do with the disconnected lines. Can also have something to do with disconnected lines in the same area. So I guess I'll just separate the boards again and also check the bottom board for some corrosion, because I noticed like there's a spot right here which looks kind of filthy. And I'll clean everything up, and we'll take a look if we see any more broken traces. Okay, so I checked all of the traces around here. I cleaned up the wires and tested all lines for continuity, and they were okay. Actually only the bottom one, which you see here, actually got disconnected, and there were a couple of wires over here which were in a very bad shape. I reflowed them with solder, and well, now I'm pretty confident that the CPU board is in should be in fully working order, restored from the trace damages. So now I'll take a closer look at the bottom board. Well, okay, so unfortunately the bottom board has got several places where something dripped, some liquidy thing dripped onto the PCB, and there's some oxidation going on here and there. Okay, so I'll have to clean that up and take a closer look at all the areas and see if any traces are lost and need to be repaired as well. Okay, so the bad news is, even after cleaning the PCB, there's some spots, I'd say mainly 3 spots, where IC pins are massively corroded like this. Fortunately, the PCB traces don't seem to be affected in those areas. So what I'll probably have to do is, I don't think that I can solve this problem by resoldering the pins. I'll probably have to remove the ICs, clean everything up, clean up all the pins and replace the ICs with new ones. And I'll start in this area over here, which has the most damage, obviously. Okay, so I removed those 2 chips here. This PROM was already socketed. This TTL chip wasn't, but I put 2 new sockets in and replacement TTL chip. And this is how it looks now from the other side. Well, all the rust and oxidation seems to be gone. So we have actually some other spots left, but maybe we try to fire up the game again and see how it looks. Okay, so I will try it again, and also I changed some dip switch settings on the CPU PCB, which should make the picture appear not upside down but correctly, and also the sound in track mode sound should be enabled. Let's see what we get. Okay. So half the dragon is missing actually. Okay. So unfortunately the first repair didn't the first repair to the bottom board didn't fix much of the issues that are left. Okay, so I'll just look at the other issues. Well, okay, I can't really decide which which traces to renew or which other ICs to replace, so I marked the ones that might be relevant with a red marker, and there's some left over here. The others should be okay. The worst, which were those two, have been fixed already, so I will now start the game again and then check these marked ICs with my logic probe and to see if any of them fail to have a complete connection to the board. Well, after checking the remaining ICs with the logic probe, I'm not really convinced that the remaining issues have anything to do with the board corrosion, because all the pins seem to on the tested ICs seem to work fine, seem to receive and send out signals, so probably there's something else wrong with this board, which has nothing to do with the corrosion. At least that's what I think at this point. So I'll try to look into the board schematics and figure out what malfunction could actually produce the problem that we're seeing here, the missing characters and the appearance of only half the title graphics. Okay, I looked further into the schematics after noticing that the object EPROMs aren't even addressed or driven at all. I noticed by going back through the schematics that actually most of the circuitry of the back PCB is not really active. And I could trace the problem back through the schematics and using the logic probe to this IC here, which is an LS174, which is a quadruple D-type flip-flop. This IC gets a clock input on pin 9, which is working. It has a inverted clear signal, which is stuck high all the time according to the schematics. That's okay. It has an input D on pin 11, which is toggling, but the output Q on pin 10 is stuck high all the time, leading to this signal VLAC being high all the time, and that is leading to most of the back PCB not doing anything at all. So my suspicion is that this IC here needs to be replaced. Interestingly, it is near the place that I actually had to do some work on because of the corrosion on the board. It's actually the one next to it over here, but this doesn't seem to be affected by the corrosion of the board at all from both sides. So maybe this IC is just non-functional, having nothing to do with the corrosion issue. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to replace this IC34 and see if we're getting any better. Okay, so I replaced the IC 34 and put a new one in and added a socket. But unfortunately, this didn't seem to help at all. Half of the title screen is still missing, and the sprites are already also missing, but after being disappointed for a short while, I noticed something peculiar, and that was that maybe there's not just there hasn't been just a problem with this IC, but also with the connection between this IC and that IC, because this IC here, which we just replaced, uses pin 11, 9, 10, 11 as an input from this IC 16 over here, which is the video prom. And this, I don't know if you can see it, this, for example, is a regular toggling signal, but this signal seems to be partly floating. Then there's sometimes some flashing going on in the signal here. Sometimes, not at the moment probably, but sometimes the logic probe shows a bit of action. So yeah, there you can just see it. But this seems to be sort of a messy signal, because it's not actually toggling like this or like that. So it seems to be floating, and sometimes it's doing something, so maybe there's still a bad connection. I'll have to check and see if there's still a problem. Okay, so maybe to try this out, we could actually, I just thought we could just make a small test and bridge the pins. So this would be pin 12 here, and this is pin 11 over here. So those should be connected according to the schematics. So so let me just attach that over here, and so those two are bridged, and now look at that. You could just see it for a moment, but the characters seem to be back, and also is the complete title screen. So now everything seems to be working all right. So maybe there is actually a trace issue due to the corrosion, which we saw under IC 16 and IC 15. Maybe there's some corrosion going on. Obviously this red wire here is not a permanent fix, but I put the board back on the bench and see where the problem of the missing connection lies. But yeah, luckily we have to seem to have completely revived the board. Okay, so there seems to have been an issue because of one of the socket pins not actually connecting to the trace, so I added another tiny piece of wire here to make the connection, and well, I'll hook the board up again and see how we go. Okay, I hooked everything back up, and so let's fire it up. Yeah, works. Looks fine. Let's wait for the demo mode to start. Yeah, well, the sprites seem to be there, obviously. Very nice. Sound. Yeah, okay, great. So another Double Dragon repair finished. Well, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.